Hey peeps, it's another week. Let's play that music. Hello everyone, welcome back to Restitching the Tapestry. We are on what is the week? Well, episode 173. I'm so caught up in the semester that I'm thinking of our show in like it's week 5, it's week 6. Ooh,
Oh, it's week 9 for me.
oh God. Welcome to Restitching the Tapestry, everyone. We're on episode 173. It is Thursday, September 26th, 2024.
Where did September go?
I don't know. I don't know where it went. I've been lost, Ari. I have been
Wandering around in the void.
I've been floating in the ether
Swear to God.
of capitalism and
Oh, goodness, not
sad
capitalism.
decisions. Arpy's here. Hey, Arpy. Tiffany's on week 69. Woo!
Woo woo!
Oh my goodness. But no, it has been, like, I feel like September has been going by quickly. We are entering October, very close to that. So, getting pretty stoked about the fall season. I know I've been really tired of the hot weather that we've had, and I'm ready for actual fall weather.
Mhm.
So, I guess before we get started tonight, let's just share how we've been and what we've been up to. Ari, how have you been? What have you been up to?
Let's start with you. How have you been and what have you been up to?
I have been delusional. No, I've been
Same.
doing okay. It's been very busy. It's been a very busy week. We've been going through like a lot of medical stuff with our kitty Phoebe. We've been
Oh,
trying to get
man.
her upper respiratory situation figured out, and it's been kind of an ordeal. So every week it's just kind of like a new thing that crops up that we need to figure out. But beyond that, I have been getting some writing done. I've been getting some cleaning done. The other day, I had like a wild decision where I wanted to tear up the carpet in one of our spare bedrooms, and I was like, there is hardwood floor underneath of this. I'm gonna be straight and just tear up this carpet.
Oh my God, you did the millennial thing where you're like, those boomers put carpet down, didn't they?
I know, and it was like this weird stick-on carpet too. So now there's like this adhesive all over the floor that I have to like scrape and scrub off.
Ah, you're in the we need to renovate stage of your home ownership.
I know. I was just telling Britt the other day that I'm gonna paint this back wall as a darker color, so it's like an accent wall in here. I'm just
Is
like,
it gonna be chocolate like on the home network
the
design network?
color is called Tsunami.
Ooh, of course it's Tsunami because you're a Godzilla fan.
It's like such a dark blue that it almost looks black, but like with the light on it, it's gonna look so cool.
I love it.
So Ari, how have you been and what have you been up to?
Well, I have again, I'm going through a process of like slowing down and like decluttering my life. So, it's been kind of a process of just kind of eliminating things right now and just kind of just stopping all of my activities. So, I didn't really do a whole lot like in the last few days. I finally got my final project done for my class and I'm very proud of myself.
Woo!
So I celebrated by going for a walk today, and that was basically all I did was go for a walk and finish my final project, and that was it.
Hey, that matters. That's good.
But I did get in the mail my tarot deck, and I wanted to show off some cards. Ooh, I've got some
Ooh,
cards,
Ari made a tarot deck. Oh my
but let me see
goodness.
if I can't show some ones that are not dirty. But yeah, I don't know if you can tell what that is. That's actually the King of Cups.
Oh my goodness.
But yes,
That's so
so
cool.
it's very cool. We have the Ace of Swords, and the temperance card, and like my favorite, which is the two of swords.
Mm.
I love that card. That's like my favorite card in the deck. But yeah.
I am so stoked because I told Ari that I want the deck as well. So I'm going to be getting one. And I'm going to be just thrilled because you know me, I love gothic imagery, I love tarot, and I love your work. So,
But they're like nicer. It's like nicer paper. It's just kind of like not a glossy paper. It's more like a matte paper. So
you
it's
know, sometimes gloss is overrated anyway.
well, because it's like an eco paper instead of like a glossy like
Like a
shiny
photo
paper.
paper, yeah.
Yeah, so it's got kind of it's more of like it doesn't shine as much.
Mm-hmm.
So I like it.
No, I think it's great. I'm so happy for you. That's been a
Thank you.
project that you've been working on for quite some time.
At least 6 months now, I think.
Yeah. Well, and not to do some shameless promotion for you, but Ari is going to be featuring these on their Tarot Time with Ari channel, so you might want to go subscribe to that if you've not done so yet.
Yeah.
Oh, Tiffany, you're cracking me up with your humor tonight. What accent wall is it going to be? Uh, so let's talk about our current event snapshot. There's quite a few things going on right now.
Mhm.
And obviously, we are careening nearer to the election season. There's, of course, per the usual, been like a lot of election stuff happening. But the priority that I think that we should focus on tonight is that Hurricane Helene is about to hit Florida. In fact, I think it already has
It
started
was
hitting Florida.
it was hitting today, yeah, it had g been upgraded from a Category 3 to a Category 4 from what I understood.
Ooh.
So it's getting pretty serious down in Florida.
Yeah, I heard that they filed a state of emergency, and I saw like an extended forecast. Some like a meteorologist was showing like the next few weeks, and they're detecting potentially multiple hurricanes back to back hitting. So
Yeah.
we could bring this around and have a full conversation about climate and how a warming ocean impacts weather patterns. But you know,
Yeah,
we've had that conversation many times.
yeah.
Another interesting thing that's happened recently. Uh, so Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris. Billie Eilish endorsed Kamala Harris. So people have been really expecting pop stars and other like social like influencers to like share their political stances, and so the singer Chapel Roan um released a series of videos recently where she essentially said that she wasn't revealing her choice or wasn't deciding currently, and people got mad.
Yeah,
People
well,
got
my
really
sister
mad.
told me it best is that all of these other pop stars that were endorsing celebrities were already well established in their careers, and Chappell
Hmm.
Roan is fairly new, and so it was
Yeah,
kind of, it's controversial to have a stance politically because honestly, like it could make or break your career. And so, Taylor Swift has $1 billion and can say whatever she
oh for
wants, and
sure,
it doesn't
yeah.
really matter. But like Chappell Roan is just, starting her career, and it could really alienate herself if she takes a stance.
Well, so it's such a complex issue because Chappell Roan has been one of the only pop stars who's been very vocal about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. So,
Mhm.
based on a follow up video she did, part of her reasoning for not like immediately endorsing Kamala Harris was because of the fact that she didn't think that our current administration was being strong enough in promoting a ceasefire and etc. And so she made some follow-up videos
Oh,
establishing that, and I don't think they came off the way she intended. It almost came off like she
she was
accused people of
criticizing the
falling for,
government?
well, she was criticizing her fans for falling for clickbait, essentially,
Oh,
when many of them had some meaningful criticisms, and that really kind of left a bad taste in people's mouths.
yeah.
Um, but like it's kind of led me to the question of, well, and she did recently do a video where she essentially conceded and said like I am not voting for Trump, I am going to vote for Harris. But it garnered criticism because she pronounced Kamala Harris incorrectly. So people were insinuating that that was a mic. It just turned into like a very huge ordeal, and it kind of made me pose the question of, is the left getting too hypercritical of celebrities when it comes to cancel culture?
But she's also, like, a person who is very anti-celebrity and just is like,
Right.
kinda just leave me alone, I just wanna make music.
Well, so I guess like I've been kind of in between. I've been kind of frustrated with her response as well because as LGBTQ plus people, like we clearly know who is the safer option
Yeah.
for us,
I
right?
think she just I don't know how I wanna feel about it because I
Yeah.
think we do hold celebrities to high standards, and the fact is I think that she hasn't gotten a lot of PR training, so she doesn't know
Hmm.
how to, do certain things yet, and so I think that's what it is that she is not necessarily publicly versed on how to do certain things,
Well,
and
yeah.
so it also she got famous, like, really fast, and so it's scary when, like, all of a sudden, like, people are like, "Ah, aggressive," and, like,
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
aggressive.
I guess at the end of the day for me, this is just like my inner teacher coming out, but I think I think it's important that we grant people grace to a certain extent. Like she has been thrust into celebritydom. She has a social influence now, and I think that she's doing what she can to try to navigate it. And
Yeah,
being, being so new to it, I think that we should just grant grace. And I
and being
personally,
thrust in an election year, I mean, oh my god,
right.
it's really bad.
Well, and being that she is also a fellow LGBTQ plus person, like we need that representation. We
Yeah.
need that representation. So, I really hope that people grant grace. RP asks, what are your thoughts about are you talking about the Linkin Park controversy? Well, I'll talk about that for a second. So, Linkin Park, the band, I think we talked about it before. Are you talking about the RP? Are you talking about the controversy of just them having a new lead singer? Can you give me some clarification on what you're asking about? I mentioned it before. Like I'm for the most part okay with it. Personally, I wasn't ready for new music from them. Um, I'm still kind of still processing and getting to it. Emily's super talented, but still processing. Um,
Yeah,
do
I
we
was
have?
watching an interview from them, and
Mhm.
it was an interesting interview, the way
Yeah.
that they talked about it. They said that they could have done, like, a whole, like, search for a new band member, but it wouldn't have been authentic to the band experience, and
Hmm.
so they really just wanted to kind of take time to find somebody for the band, and
Hmm.
that they wanted it to be, like, somebody that they would all get along with, and that it was kind of more authentic to their whole
Yeah.
experience, and that she kinda came into their lives and was someone that they all kind of rallied around and kinda knew and all got along with.
Oh, RP was asking about the Scientologist. So, she's a Emily's a Scientologist. I honestly don't know how I feel about that.
Oh, she's
Um,
a Scientologist?
she
Ooh.
is, she
Oh,
is. So,
goodness.
like, very conflicted about that. That has been causing a lot of controversy. I don't really think it's been addressed. I don't really think it's been addressed yet. But hopefully it does get addressed. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
I mean,
Well,
people like Tom Cruise, and he's a Scientologist, who knows?
yeah, right. So the only other current event that I do want to note is Trump recently at a rally referred to himself as a woman protector, even though he's largely responsible for what happened with Roe versus Wade, when you think about it. So
Are you
I'm
serious?
just, yep. So just the irony of the day is just some other thing that he said.
Oh, man. Of
Oh,
course he did. Of course he did.
Yeah, about the Linkin Park thing, Arpy says, I think they should have just changed the name and not done old songs. It's not LP to me anymore. Uh,
What
I
is
don't know
it
how
what is it with abuse can I just say, what is it with abusive men saying that they're, like, a champion of women or that they're, like, a protector of women?
narcissism, conceit.
'Cause this is not the first time in my life that I've had a woman, a guy who was, like, abusive towards women say this. In my own personal life, I've had somebody who was really bad to me say that exact almost exactly that same kind of line, say that they were a champion of women after they were abusive to me. They said they
No,
literally were like, "I'm a champion of women."
it's such a, I don't know, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Yep, mhm. This is not anything new to me, anything new.
No. And that's a sad reality. We could have a whole conversation, a whole episode about that.
Yeah.
It's like a very peculiar form of like competitive narcissism. So,
It's just like it and they would go to women they went to the women's rally, this person. Yeah.
wow, good for them.
Oh, yeah. They did all sorts of things to prove that
And they
they
probably
loved
eagerly bragged
they
about
loved
that, right?
absolutely loved women, loved they were such a protector of women. I remember he got on the phone once and he tried to get me to unalive myself. Yeah. He was such a protector of women.
I'm sorry that happened to you. That's messed
Yeah, I
up.
know, I know. It's just you hear stuff like women protector and, the history of him, like, touching women inappropriately and, like,
Hmm.
doing things so many things to remove women's rights, and it just kind of reminds you of, like, all the people in your life that have just been, like, so bad to women, like, personally, like, and,
Yeah.
like, it's just like he's just another one of those guys. It's just like he's just it's
Well, what upsets me too is that people are so willing and eager to look the other way. You know, that's how it always is. Like the lack of accountability.
just getting real fired up just listening to this right yeah, that
Well,
just hearing that just we're gonna have to move on because I can't
let's move on to the mission statement, Ari. It's your time to shine.
Oh my gosh. So, we're gonna do this in quite a different style tonight. Um, I'm going to read this in the style of don't laugh. If you laugh, I'm gonna start laughing.
I will
We're
be
gonna do this in the
straight
style
faced.
we're gonna do this in the style of Kate Bush because that's how I'm gonna do this. So here we go. We live in a dynamic society where social media shapes us by creating greater opportunities for connection. It has led to a developing understanding of adversity. Many more the powers causing the adversity and those who act as bystanders as atrocities take place in real time. Our goal with this show is to make connections and have challenging conversations about social topics, current events, pop culture, and art. Together, let's weave the threads of understanding with what privilege we have in order to learn, educate, and create in a world that's growing. Do I sound like Kate Bush?
Where where's that Grammy?
Oh my god, clip that.
Oh, whew.
I'm, like, shaking, that was really good. I was so
Ari,
nervous.
Ari, that was wild. That was
Were you
Ari and I
laughing?
were.
I couldn't look at you, I had to keep going.
I almost died. Um, Ari and I were talking in the background about how like stoic we've been this season, and last season we were like very slap happy and like chaotic. So we were like, we need some chaos this season. So Tiffany loves Kate Bush.
So that's my best Kate Bush impression. You're welcome.
It
Thank you.
was it was beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So I need a minute. Woo.
I tried my best to do Kate Bush, but I did my best. I tried pulling off theater kid as much as possible, but it was more Kate Bush army soldier than I tried to.
Tiffany says that gave me more of a I got a brand new bike vibe than Kate Bush.
I tried my best. I tried my best.
And then RP asks if we could wrap the mission statement at some point. Good. We very well could. Well, okay. So, fixing people part 2, that is our topic for today. Last season, I think it was episode 130, we talked about fixing people. And so like let's kind of like review what we did discuss that episode. So
Okay.
in that episode, we, of course, talked about our own histories to a certain extent with fixing people, whether it be relationships or friendships. And it went as far as us like sharing examples. We talked at length about narcissistic people, which we very well may talk about as well tonight. But we thought that that topic really warranted a part 2 because, like, when you live so much of your life being a fixer, like it really lingers. It morphs into different things. It manifests itself in different ways. And I think that that warrants unpacking. Was
It
there
does.
anything I missed from the last episode?
No, I think that we talked a lot about like fixing that you can't really fix narcissists and you can't really fix yeah, that you just have to that it's just it's kind of a futile effort, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess, I mean, well, let's start off with a simple question. Are you still a fixer in certain contexts or not?
I think that I've kind of resigned myself in this way, that I'm too tired. I'm almost 40 years old now. I'm gonna be 40 in January. And so I just don't have the patience for people. Actually, what I just did was I just unfriended a bunch of people from Facebook, like probably like
Mm.
35 people from Facebook because I was
Wow.
like, I can't there's just a lot of stuff that I can't deal with anymore. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, you know, um, you know, there's certain things that just can't change about these people, and there's certain things that I'm having trouble with anymore. And so I just was like, I have to say goodbye.
You're just
I
like
just
done.
it's not that I was done. It's just that, I just I can't I can't have them in my life anymore.
Yeah. I think for me, I'm not hugely a fixer anymore, although I still have tendencies where like I know like especially like I'm a very empathic person, so I'm like really drawn to people, and if they ever have like a problem or anything, I'm very quick to be like, okay, let's go into solution mode, when really it's not always my responsibility to do that.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just kind of like this just very unconscious activation when it comes to like, oh, I need to help solve problems kind of thing.
Yeah.
Tiffany says, my fixing tendencies came into play when I was in toxic relationships that seemed so wonderful in the beginning, and I wanted to go back to the person I thought they were. Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. No, it's very interesting that we're talking about this because recently a sibling of one of my exes reached out to me to basically be like, Donnie, you dodged a terrible situation, because they had a falling out with that person too. So it kind of like brought back into perspective like all the things that I was willing to do to compromise myself for the sake of that person, because they were literally they just they were having so many challenges, and I resigned myself at that time, 2013. I resigned myself at that time as the person that could solve all problems. And guess what? I did not. I just made life stressful.
You didn't just dodge a situation, you like ran in the other direction and like you ever see that scene from oh god, um it's Alien, the Alien movie where the big ring is falling down and the guy's trying to like outrun it and it like collapses on him. You actually dodged that big spaceship and it just like kept rolling the other direction.
It literally felt like an alien invasion. No, like I found the means to create boundaries for myself, and I was like, nope, I'm ending this. This is done. And then that's what motivated me to go back to grad school. So I
Yeah.
guess thanks for that. Oh, Tiffany says, Tiffany's quoting the lyrics to Sarah Brightman, time to say goodbye. Yes. Um, Arpy says, I'm not a fixer, but I'm a people pleaser. Ooh.
Oh,
Sometimes, though, we do act as fixers in order to please other people. Not saying
well
that's your specific situation, but that's stuff that I used to do.
well, the thing about it is when you try to fix somebody, you're because what it is like there's a lot of like placation in like trying to fix them because you're like trying to like fit a certain mold of like either like societal expectations or like certain expectations. So like if because what it is you're trying to get them to become a people pleaser too because you're is what it is you're a people pleaser and you're trying to get them to become a people pleaser
Mm-hmm.
too. So
Mm-hmm.
like by getting them to do things like change their habits or like, you know, things, you're trying to get them to fit into society's mold.
Yes. So I'm glad that you mentioned that because that transitions me into our next question of did we ever have a quote unquote need to feel needed? And did that have anything to do with our fixer tendencies?
Yeah. And that's really what it is. Because, you know, I never tried to cuz I was with boyfriends that would be quite a bit, like, overweight, and it never bothered me, like, any, like, you know, I just loved them the way they were in that
Mm-hmm.
sense, um, but, the things that I would try to fix about them was, like, I would try to, you know, I would always try to, like, get them to shave, or I would try to get them to do, like, certain grooming habits, like, you know, brush your teeth, shower, like, you know, look presentable to society in certain ways. You know, do basic maintenance on yourself, because I want you to look presentable when we go out in public.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I considered societally acceptable, like having not facial hair or like
Mm-hmm.
having facial hair or like changing their appearance in some way. What's considered fixable, but it's subjective. Because I would say, oh, you should grow your hair out, or you should shave your hair, or you should do this, or you should do that. And it was sort of like that. It was sort of like telling them what they should do or what they shouldn't do,
Mm-hmm.
but it was fulfilling the need of what I thought society might think would look good on them.
It's interesting because for me, that the need to feel needed felt different. So I think for me, I struggled so long to just feel any sense of belonging that I was willing to do anything that I could, even at my own expense, to feel like I was worthwhile in any situation. Like I know when I was in college, and Ari, you probably, I mean, you knew me like you still know me like the back of my hand. Um, when I was in college, like I would often just be like that empathetic advice giver. I would like do readings for people, and that was kind of like my way where
Mhm.
like I knew that people would want me in their space because I would be able to fulfill some role for them. And if anything, that at least meant that I would get an invitation to the party.
Yeah.
right? And at a certain point, I realized that my need to feel needed was happening not only at my own expense, but also I was just kind of just relying on other people's wants and desires to kind of fulfill my vacancies, if that makes sense. Which once I pieced that together, I was like, is this really a good thing that I'm doing? Like,
Oh,
not
that's
really.
interesting.
Yeah, like, and
So,
it was
like
very hard for me to process that.
so so it was like you were feeling like that you weren't feeling fulfilled inside yourself, so fixing someone else was like filling what you didn't have oh, okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um,
So then it made me spiral into wondering, am I doing this in it for a genuine cause? Like, am I doing this because I care about people, or am I doing this to simply feel like I'm not alone?
yeah.
Yeah, so it led to a lot of like very uncomfortable questions. I came to the realization that I did care in some way,
Mhm.
but it was always mixed with something else.
Yeah. And I understand that too. Um, and I was just remembering something as you were telling me about this. Something my mom has always told me about men, about having a boyfriend is that when you get a boyfriend, um, there you have to train your boyfriend. That's something my mom's always told me, that you have
Mm,
to make them into what you think she's the proper boyfriend. So, like, they may not know certain things about, like, how to be a proper boyfriend or, like, how to be a proper husband, and so you have to, like, tell them how to be a proper boyfriend and husband and train them into being a proper boyfriend and husband. And so there's certain personality traits and behaviors that you have to, like, fix about their personality into making them into that perfect boyfriend and husband for you. And she just actually told me that recently that, like, you have to, like, make them into that perfect boyfriend for you because they may not necessarily know how to do certain things.
that almost sounds like intergenerational internalized misogyny
It
when you
is
think about
really
it.
because it's sort of like they don't because my mom, when she first started dating my stepdad, he would say things like, um, he's like she always gives this example. She was gonna go out on a date with him, and he said, "Well, I don't have money for gas." And she'd go, "Well, we don't have to go out on a date." And he said, "Well, I guess I'll pay for gas then."
Ooh, ooh. Going to the comments really quickly. So Arpy says, I hate conflicts and will agonize to fix them. Tiffany says, I guess I did feel that need a little bit, but for me, it was just not wanting to let go because I thought the real them I fell in love with was still there. And then Tiffany, in response to that intergenerational internalized misogyny, says that that's an effed up mentality. I mean, it kind of is, but truthfully, that's a mentality of survival when you think about it.
I mean, they have a happy relationship, so, I mean, it works for them, but,
Hmm.
I think it doesn't work for everybody. I think that you shouldn't expect you have to train your boyfriend or husband in order to, do
Hmm.
certain things for you, and I think that's partly why, like, younger generations are not getting with people as why, like, they're saying in 2030 that, like, half of women are gonna be, like, single is because they are not, willing to train their boyfriends anymore. It should just be like that they should know how to act
Hmm.
in a relationship.
Well, yeah, they shouldn't have to do that. It's interesting because, I mean, I guess looking at my relationship history, I would argue that my fiance is the first person that I've never felt that I had that dynamic with, or I felt the need to like train someone or coax them to make it seem like they need my presence or value my presence. So at
Right.
at the beginning of the relationship it felt very alien to me because
Right.
and I think it's because a lot of relationships that we experience, we're usually the ones putting more into it, and we like, so let's say we put 120% into the relationship, we get
Mhm.
like 30% back.
Yeah.
So then it kind of creates like this standard where we're so used to give, 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 give that when we even get like a crumb back, it feels like it's never satiating, right?
Right. It's that mentality that, we're not worthy enough, and any sort of, you know, giving back is like it's sort of like water in the desert.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't quench because you're still, like, extremely dehydrated.
Now that it's true. Well, and it kind of leads to Jackie, I sure do. I sure do. So it kind of leads to the next question of when we buy into fixing people, do we achieve a sense of purpose um at someone else's expense technically? So that kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, right? So I personally feel like in certain instances I did do it at people's expenses. Like
Mhm.
in my mind, I'd be like, "Oh, there's someone in need. I can be there for them." And at least that means that I will have a friend for a while, right?
Mhm.
Which in the grand scheme of things, I mean, it wasn't always the motivation. Um but retrospectively looking back on it now, I know that like I was just doing what I thought I needed to do to simply belong. And I
Yeah.
realized that I didn't need to do that much. I didn't need to overcompensate that
Mhm.
much.
Yeah.
Oh, Jackie, thank you. Tiffany says, I feel like I did do it at people's expenses too. And you know what? Like, I know it kind of sucks to realize that. But when you
Mhm.
think about us being products of the conditioning, the trauma that we've experienced, like, part of the
Mhm.
discomfort is kind of piecing that apart or, piecing that together and kind of breaking down those internal barriers. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think that, like, part of growing up is realizing just, that fixing people or, like, trying to change people is that you don't wanna do it anymore because you just want people to be who they are, and, you want people to, you know, because people will show their intentions, and you realize you want people to be their authentic selves around you, and you don't want to, like, change people from, like, who they are, because who they are is, like, so beautiful and wonderful, and, like, trying to change them and, like, you
Mm-hmm.
know I mean, it's but it was something that I realized that I was doing in relationships, that, like, you know, trying to, like, poke at them in relationships of, "Oh, you should" the biggest thing I always would say is, "You should grow a beard," or, "You should shave your beard," or, you know, um, and, like, "Have you done this today?" Or,
Mm-hmm.
like, and it's like
See, I mean, I think there's like subtle things that like are playful that are just like, things like that. But I like think about the ways that we've radically forced ourselves to change to satisfy someone else.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Um,
And I used to do that a lot. Very much people pleasing, very much also connected to the being the fixer as well. I
yeah.
felt like that I could fix people's perception of my image or you know, like I remember I had a boyfriend once who would guilt me and shame me over my voice and would ask me to not speak like this all the time. That I was being
Oh,
too feminine and so like it kind of played into that
but I
childhood.
love your voice. I've been watching your old videos, and I love your old videos. I love your voice now, but I love your voice then, and I just I think that you're just amazing, young or old, and, but young Donnie is such a vibe. You know what I mean?
Young Donnie was a vibe. Young Donnie was a vibe. No, that means a lot, and I like right back at you, honestly.
Yeah.
So for those of you who do not know, I have a YouTube channel called Donny Winter Archive. If you are not subscribed to that, you're more than welcome to go check it out. But I've been going and uploading really, really old videos from the ancient days on YouTube.
The
So,
days from the before time.
the ancient lore of my YouTube. So if you want to go check that out, go do so because it's a vibe. It's a vibe. I'm going to be doing some reactions to them with my video series, reacting to my old videos because I've been reviving that. So, Tiffany
Mm.
says, "Where is that X? I need to send him an elephant turd." Yes. Um. So when trying to fix someone, do you feel like something about you changes in the process? Like something is gained negatively or positively or lost? That's an interesting question.
I thought you would like that. I thought really hard about that question.
Are you thinking hard about all the questions?
I
Don't sell
know, but
yourself
that
short.
question came to me and I was like, Donnie's gonna like this question.
I mean, kind of going back to the person that I was talking about, like, I really felt like I lost myself
Yeah,
entirely.
yeah.
Um, that was the first relationship I had had in like a large number of years. I've had pretty long stints between relationships in my time.
Mhm,
And so that person was very much just not a good person, very toxic, very manipulative. And I would just do literally anything I could to at least make him happy and to
mhm.
make him, feel like, I was worthwhile to the extent where I was kind of becoming unhinged myself and taking on his qualities and being very toxic.
Yeah.
And it took me kind of like having other people notice, like, Donnie, you're a bit different. Donnie, what's going on? Donnie,
Yeah.
like, why are you talking this way? Why are you behaving this way? And I had this really long look in the mirror one day and I was like, I am losing myself. I need to kind of reorient. And then when I realized that it was simply because I was doing it all at the expense of this person, that's when I was like, okay, I got to do something about this because this is not good. It's going to keep careening out of control.
Yeah.
How about you?
Um, I noticed when I was around, people that, were not becoming the people that I wanted to be, that they were that I had these expectations for them and, I had these hopes for them to be, you know, committal or be, the best what I consider the best versions of themselves, in
Mm-hmm.
my thought process of what I thought was the best version of themselves, of who I thought they should be.
Yeah.
Um, I gained a lot of bitterness about it, and I gained a lot of, I just became I think that there was, like, an underlying, like, anger, and I think that some of it came out like, when I had my mental breakdown, I think there was that anger came out, with my ex-boyfriend, but I think that that anger stayed with when I interacted with, um, a lot of people, that there was just a lot of, like, anger around a lot of people in my life,
Mm-hmm.
that I was always trying to, like, tweak people and just do these little things, and it wasn't just ex-boyfriends, it was just everybody in my life that I was always just trying to do this one little thing or this one little thing or this one little thing, and it's like, you know, I was reading something recently, from Maharishi, and I know, transcendental meditation, take it as you will, but there's something that he said just recently. I was reading it in a book, and it was something that was reading recently, and it said, you can talk all you want about, you know, meditating and all of those things, but it's a personal experience, and that everybody has to come to it on their own, and that you have to basically do these things on your own. And so when it comes to bettering your life or making changes in your life, you can talk all you want about like making changes or like fixing yourself or doing those things, but really all of those things have to come within. So it's better. And I was like, oh, epiphany. I can't actually like fix people or change things. I have to like let people do those things on their own. And like I just need to stop like, because I was like, why do I get so angry about it sometimes? And why do I get so bitter about it sometimes? And it's like, it's because I'm trying to like, I don't know, I try to force myself on people, like trying to like, oh, you could do this way, and you could do this way, and you could do this way. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
just let people be.
I think there's a healthy way to go about doing it where it's like of how we frame it, but like I've been there too, like I've been that person. And I've come to realize that we just have like I think because we have the trauma we have such ridiculously high expectations for ourselves, and sometimes like we emanate an aura of expectation.
I know. And
And
it's just because we think that our way is the best way, so we think that everybody should do it our way.
damn it. It's so true. Ari, why do we do this to
It's
ourselves?
our toxic traits.
It's, we're only human, right?
We're only human.
Tiffany says, I had a boyfriend once who wanted to change things about me or who wanted things from me that I wasn't ready or willing to give. Wow, yeah. Arpy says, I'm sorry that you've had crappy exes, Tiff. And then Tiffany says, I meditate now and I love it so much. Good. Something I would probably benefit from doing more often myself. So, I guess the next question, how does trying to fix someone make you feel when you fail at it when you've tried? Ooh, that's a Ari, these are some good questions.
Your questions are really good too.
We both are good at questions.
It's been a great show so far. I'm really
I
enjoying it.
know, I know. We always have good conversations. But to answer that, I mean, that's kind of a hard question to answer. When I was in college, I would feel disappointed in myself, like I wasn't good enough. And then, like, I didn't belong. Because remember, that was my key to feel a sense of belonging with people.
Yeah.
Right. If I could make myself seem useful in some way, then there was my free ticket, you know. So I would feel very lost and isolated if I failed at it. How about you?
I'm not sure if I feel like I failed at it, again, like I said, if I feel like I failed at trying to fix somebody, I would feel bitter. I would gain that bitterness of trying to, change them, or if I tried to fix something about their personality, or if I tried to like get them to see my perspective on things, and they just weren't seeing my perspective on how it should be done, like, because that's
Mm-hmm.
what I consider like fixing somebody, is like getting them to see my side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's sort of like there's sort of like kind of it almost turns into like resentment. And so what I've learned to do is that just allowing people to have their perspective on things, but just like trying to find more people who share my opinion, while kind of keeping that perspective that there are people who don't have my opinion.
Yeah. I think that's a very good way of looking at it. And I would argue that that's something that I've tried internalizing myself. I feel like I've successfully gotten there now that I've gotten older. Honestly, I think a lot of it's experience, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
We've been through those experiences, and now we're at this point where we both have had a lot of therapy, a lot of soul searching, and now we at least kind of have developed some sense of um, understanding, right?
Yeah.
Tiffany says, I felt helpless. Then I felt angry at them. Then I finally realized, get your shit together, Tiffany. We both have had that realization. Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you, Arby. Thank you. Um oh, Tiffany says helpless and useless, or useless not helpless. One of those things.
Okay.
So, when you just let people be who they are and you have had the realization that people are going to move to be part of the relationships or stay the same, what did that do for you? Ooh, that's an interesting question. I think that I don't know. How would you answer that, Ari?
When you let people be who they are and you have the realization that people are going to move to be part of the relationship or stay the same, what did that do for you? So, most of the time, I just let people move on, and I just didn't keep part of the relationship. That it was like, um, it's just that I just had to abandon the relationship. That if they weren't going to stay and, you know, uh, you know, because you can't change who they are, and they weren't going to change who they were, because you can't fix them. They aren't going to change who they are. So it was just that, those relationships just got abandoned for me.
Yeah. I didn't like the chaos. Like it's the chaos that would get to me, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's because part of the journey of being the fixer is also being a micromanager. And when there was unmitigated chaos that I couldn't make sense of, like it just felt like it just felt like all hell was breaking loose, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I know like with the ex that I was talking about earlier, where like I started becoming unhinged. I've mentioned this in an episode before, but this ex would guilt me into drinking and smoking and convinced me that if I didn't do those things, then I wasn't worthy of him. Right.
Did you feel like you ever
And
had to manage them in social situations, like try to keep them
yes,
like from doing certain things that were like socially unacceptable all the time, and just like,
try to diffuse their reactions, try to to redirect their rage or frustration about something from exes. Absolutely.
and that you knew that if you said, like, the wrong thing, that it was like, "Oh, this is bad," whatever this is.
Or if we upset them, that we would then hear about it later or be lectured about it.
Yep, and
Mm-hmm.
that it was a fight.
Yeah, and then you would spend all day like living in anxiety and anticipation of that impending conversation.
Or that you knew you were at, like, a party with people, and, like, you knew that at the end of the party, it was going to be a drag out fight in the car.
Oh my god, those are the worst too.
Yeah,
Because you can't remove yourself from that situation.
right, and
Yeah.
you knew that, like, because you would fight in private, and then, like, the people that you lived with would come through, and they would, like, flip their personality.
Oh my god, yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mhm.
Yep.
Protect your champion of women.
Champion of narcissism, more or less.
Yep.
Tiffany says, when I finally realized they were just jerks and awful people, I finally let them go. Or when I realized they were great the way they are great the way they were, I felt awful. And then Tiffany says, oh my gosh, I had boyfriends that did things in public that weren't acceptable, embarrassing things like loud bodily noises and farts. It was humiliating. Ooh, yeah. I think for me, it was like them confronting me in public and making me the butt of the joke. That would kind of be very triggering for me, you know?
Yeah.
So, well, we're on the home stretch of the episode, so we're going to veer into talking about some solutions because honestly, we've been on this trajectory to make sense of that history, right? So, how does not being the fixer relate to the let them theory? So, we had great question, Ari. I'm really complimenting your questions tonight.
I know. I'm like not sure how to handle all of these compliments. I'm just
Oh,
like, I'm like
Oh,
short circuiting. I'm like glitching out. I'm like, oh, you're being too nice. Ooh.
and I swear I'm not doing it because I'm a fixer. I'm doing it because I genuinely mean it now.
Ooh.
All these years later.
Ooh.
Well, so I think that's a great question. So remember the let them theory, going back to that episode, focused a lot on realizing that you just can't control what other people do. And that we put so much energy in trying to control what other people do that we lose ourselves to that output of energy. So I would say that being a fixer relates to the let them theory because the let them theory teaches us just to simply let go. Like let go of that person. Let go of that friendship that is not a good friendship. Um let go of our need to feel like we need to fix people and develop a sense of belonging. I learned that in my 20s. That's when I had to learn to let go of that. And it was hard to do. It was very uncomfortable.
Well, when they show themselves as who they are and you realize like this is who they are, like this is them, this is who they are, and you realize like this is who they are, then you
Mhm.
realize like there's no fixing them. This is who they are. And when you let them be who they are, then you can learn to let go.
Right. Absolutely. So comments, Arpy says, I hope that you guys we did do an episode on narcissism. We sure did.
Didn't we do
Tiffany's
one or two parts? I think we did two
I think we did two parts. Tiffany says it's hilarious and loud as the situations where it's embarrassing that they did that repeatedly in public. I was never confronted in public by them, though, thank God. Is that Larity I'm hearing in the background?
Yes, and he keeps attacking me.
Larity's angry that we're talking about fixing people.
No, he just
Oh,
wants food.
look at him. He's so cute. Just a little void kitty.
He's so angry. Look at him. He's so angry.
He's so cute. He's like, I'm done.
He's like cameo over.
Oh my goodness. But no, like I think that just learning to let go is so freeing. And it's not just letting go of those toxic people. It's letting go of those unrealistic expectations that you hold on yourself too. Because I think those are the things that motivate us to continue trying to create the space around us that we think we need based on how isolated we might feel, how we might not belong, so on and so forth, right? Um,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Ooh.
No, I like it. I like that. I like what you're saying.
Well, so final question of the night. How do we balance healthily helping people with avoiding engaging in fixing people in a toxic or selfish way? How do we balance it?
Um, well, I think that using the let them theory, that when kind of reading the situation, that knowing the kind of relationship that you have with someone, that offering up advice, but not trying to change them in any way, that saying, can I offer you advice? Do you want my advice? And if they say yes, then giving them any advice. If they say no, then obviously they don't want that advice. And I think that when you get into like closer, more intimate relationships, um, I think that even kind of maintaining those boundaries, it's still like, you know, it's still like, not changing that person, but being like, you know, "Can I can I tell you something? Is it okay if I tell you
Mm-hmm.
this? Can is it okay that I talk about this? Like, I don't wanna upset you or, like, talk but there's just this thing that I was wanting to mention, and I wasn't sure how to bring it up, but there's this and it's a little bit concerning, and if it's something that's changing the trajectory of their life, that's affecting their functionality in some way. I mean, if it's like a little minor thing, I mean, how how much is it really affecting the relationship? Is it just a minor inconvenience? Is it just an
Hmm.
annoyance that bothers you and that you can learn to live with?
Honestly, I think you summed that up perfectly. I think that there is like I like the idea of asking people or prompting people first, right?
Mhm,
Like I know like for me, like I tend to be very direct with people, and I know sometimes like that can be very uncomfortable. So now
yeah,
I've gotten to the point where I like will lead in with a question, be like, hey, like you were saying, is it okay if I share this with you? Is it okay that I pose this question? Or I prompt and I say, like, hey, if you don't feel comfortable answering this, just say so. I'm totally fine with that, right? I think
mhm,
creating like that safe space while also demonstrating that you are there for that person, like that really will go far in demonstrating your genuine intention, right?
yeah.
Whereas if you were to go back in time to 2009 Donnie, who was like, "Oh, I'll be there for you. Let me do a reading for you." But can I come to your social event? Like, am I part of the in crowd now? Like, no. No.
Just invite yourself along.
Just like, yeah, I was just like, "Hey, I'm here." Just saunter right in.
That's why I'd be like that's why even when I was in college, I'd be like, "Oh, can I come over?" And they'd be like, "You can just come over." And I'd be like, "This is uncomfortable for me."
Oh my god. Okay, so I had people do that too. Did you ever get like were you ever given that free invitation, but then when you did go, you would always feel like you weren't welcome?
Yes, I was just like, "Oh, no, I shouldn't."
It's the worst feeling because then you're just like, I'm here in this space that you said I could be in, but you don't want me here. What do I
No.
do?
It's
I
it's not
usually would just find a reason to leave.
it's just it's not that I didn't feel unwelcome, it's just that, I didn't it's that, you know, coming over into a space, you want to ask permission before you walk into it's vampire rules, yo. Vampire rules.
You know, that's almost the perfect way to end the episode. Remember those vampire rules, everyone.
Always ask permission before you enter someone's house.
Oh my goodness, my friends, another great week, another great conversation. Don't forget to click like for the algorithm because that circulates our show. Don't forget that you can also listen to our show not only here on YouTube, but you can listen to it on your favorite streaming service, Spotify, Amazon Music, etc. Subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Ari's channels, Tarot Time with Ari, Bucha Baby, and Strange Nothings. And last but not least, we love you. And we hope that you have a good rest of your week.